Hi guys, and welcome to your daily tarot reading for Thursday, the 8th of April 2021. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to use the Radiant Rider-Waite deck again for today's reading. Let's see what the cards have to say. This is the deck that I use in my personal readings. And if you are starting out, I would recommend you use this deck. It's based on the original Rider-Waite, and they've updated the cards to look a bit bright. And they've tidied up the borders and things like that. So I absolutely love this deck. Let's see what these cards have to say and what Thursday is bringing. First card is the Five of Swords, the Three of Pentacles, and the Five of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, the Five of Swords is conflict. It's similar to yesterday. Yesterday we had the Knight of Swords, and that is also about conflict and rushing into things and kind of asserting your will and protecting your ego and all of those things. The Five of Swords sees something similar. We've got this young knight warrior kind of smirking and picking up their swords. So there's been a battle. They fought, they've lost, he's won, and he's really happy with himself. He's smug and pleased. And he's picking up the swords as a kind of trophy, proof that he's won the battle. And these other two are upset. He's standing by the shore and weeping. That reminds me of Carrie Fisher again. She was bipolar and she had two moods, which she named Roy and Pam. And she said that Roy was the rollicking, kind of manic, amazing mood, and Pam was standing by the shore and weeping. One mood was the meal and the other one was the check. Okay, so for someone to make other people feel like this, yes, he's won, yes, he's got a couple of swords, but really he's made no friends. And karma wise, in my experience, what you put out you get back. So he may be happy right now in the moment, but he's somewhat short-sighted because this isn't really going to serve him in the long term. If he goes to the court of the tarot cards and he wants something, he's made two enemies on this day, and the short-lived victory isn't going to be something that he will look back on with pride and a sense of accomplishment. I think he'll think this is a mistake. So if you're in a situation where you have a choice between war and peace, it's really not in your interest to go to war. One, look at what you're actually fighting about and who you're fighting. Secondly, is this going to benefit you in the long term? And is it really necessary to kind of eviscerate other people, or just to stand your ground and to say, I don't agree? Because he's not being kind or assertive, he's being a bully. And he is taking pleasure in the misfortune of other people. He's looking back at them and saying, I'm the victor. So he feels bigger and he feels right. And again, in my experience, that doesn't serve you in the long term. What's interesting next is that we've got the Three of Pentacles. The Three of Pentacles is very much the opposite. The Three of Pentacles is a kind of humble, or a more humble kind of young man working away at something that requires a lot of skill. And he's doing his job. He is dressed in purple and yellow. So he's listening to what his higher self is saying. He's doing what he's meant to do. So he's always had an affinity for, I don't know, stone carving or architecture, engineering. And he's decided that he's going to see that through, and he's going to do that. The yellow apron is happiness, it's control, it's being on the right path, and he is doing what he loves. These two, we've got the holy man and maybe the accountant or the person who looks after the money, and they're coming along with the plans and they're checking the work and saying, is this all up to standard? And it is. The Three of Pentacles says that you're an expert, you know what you're doing, especially in a practical sense. So rather than going to war and putting people in their place, it's much more productive to actually get on with what you're good at and to try and make nice with people. And that doesn't mean you have to kind of scrape and bow and kowtow to everyone else's wishes. You can be assertive and say, this is what I'm good at, this is the way I'm going to do it. And if there is a conflict and they say, well, you've deviated from the plans and you really haven't, then you can say, okay, I'm going to take a moment to explain that this is exactly as it was planned and that's what I'm doing. And you can reach some sort of an agreement. So your work speaks for itself. You're able to evidence what is going on. So you are able to really do a good job to get other people to understand, to demonstrate what you're doing if people are checking up on you. You don't have to go overboard and say, how dare you look over my shoulder, because they're paying him. I mean, it makes sense for them to check his work, right? They're the ones who are going to live in the church or the cathedral or whatever, so they want someone to do a good job, and that's perfectly reasonable. So I'm getting a sense of annoyance, irritability, and that's very much aligned with yesterday's energy. So I think this lingers a little bit, and it's important not to be too certain of yourself, to try and do the best you can, to be willing to check your own work, and particularly not to go overboard and to try and make yourself seem bigger by putting other people down. That never works out well for anybody. Finally, we've got the Five of Pentacles. The Five of Pentacles is a church as well. And we've got the stained glass window here. We've got two sickly people out in the snow. The card is about rejection and it's about conflict in a really serious way. This is more intellectual and pride and what you're saying and the decisions you're making. This is about practical circumstances, and there's nothing is being said here. They are out on their own, the door has closed, and that's the end of it. So this is a tough card that says illness, rejection, being on your own, even though they're together, so there is some support available. But it's not a card that says everything is going to be super easy or handed to you on a silver platter. It's something that you have to accept what is and continue on and find better circumstances for yourself. So the card is in reverse. So there is no rejection. There is no difficulty here. You're not on your own out in the snow. Even though it may feel that way, it's important not to react. So what the cards are saying is that where there are slights or insults or problems, you may have the tendency to see those as much bigger than they really are. So you could be overly sensitive or overly focused on the instructions that you're being given, your circumstances, your freedom, your decision-making process, and you may feel like you don't have the freedom and the space to do what you want, but the card is saying that that is not really reasonable. So if someone says something to you, you can take it the wrong way. You can overreact, and the important thing is not to do that, but instead to focus on what you can do in the here and now, in a practical sense, and to be willing to listen to other people. Yes, you are an expert, you know what you're doing. You can stand up for yourself, but it doesn't mean that you have to go overboard and feel victimized and bullied by other people when they're simply giving you instructions. The church aspect of these cards really links these two cards together, and I really feel that it informs this whole scene, that you're not being judged if someone else says something to you or instructs you or makes a suggestion even to do things differently. Be willing to take that on board, and ultimately you're going to be able to do a much better job if you're teachable, if you're willing to learn, if you're willing to take instruction, and not everything is a personal attack. It's funny that I'm saying this because I am somewhat prone to take things the wrong way at times. So the cards are really saying that you can be very, very productive. Just don't let yourself be distracted by perceived slights or perceived irritants, which really have very little to do with truth. Number-wise, we've got 5 and 5 is 10, and 3 is 13. 1 and 3 is 4, and 4 is structure, security, and stability. And that's what you're able to create for yourself. It's like Saturn in astrology. You're able to create something that is permanent, that's going to provide a lot of structure in your life, in your practical circumstances. So focus on work, money, your physical health, your daily routine, your schedule, and sort those things out. Be willing to listen. Don't go overboard, and don't throw a pity party for yourself in the sense that if someone doesn't agree with you 100%, that immediately they despise you and belittle your work. It's not that serious. So that's what I get. Have a wonderful day. If you would like a personal reading with me, please get in touch via my website, gregoryscott.com. On the front page, click on book your reading to order your reading with me. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and share the video online. Have a fabulous Thursday, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.